Good afternoon. Welcome to the IT Chronicles 10 in Tech. I'm Kathleen Wilson. I'm here with my colleague, Carlos Casanova.
Hi, Kathleen.
And today we have the honor to interview Ashish Joshi from Go Deskless. So welcome to Refresh 19, and thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Kathleen and Carlos. Nice meeting you guys.
Nice meeting you.
And thanks for having me here.
Not a problem.
So tell us a little bit about, what you're doing. We know it's in that CRM space, it's pulling a lot of that together. Tell us a little bit about what exactly the capabilities are of the product and the problems that really you're trying to solve.
Absolutely. So it's interesting, I spent around 22 years in CRM space, and I've seen a number of products evolve, come out, and I've also seen that all the software that we talk about, customer experience or customer relationship management, the softwares are actually created for employees.
Right.
There's no software that go directly and say, I have something for you, give it to your customers directly. Mm-hmm. So that's your experience for them. So I decided to take a step back and said, you know what, let me do something that I can give it to customers and say, give this to your customers. Right? So that's where the idea of this came from, is to go deskless, because take your experience and go deskless where the customers are in the field. So have your customer engagement functions, have your service and sales functions, people who you're selling your products, the foot soldiers. Give them something and have them interact with the customers and give them that experience. So extend your office experience to the deskless mode, mm-hmm. to your front workers.
So yeah, the way I see it is if I was going to a retail store and I wanted to give feedback or I had an issue, which the person in retail couldn't help me with, mm-hmm. they could now empower me by lodging a complaint on my behalf instead of giving, here's a number for you to call. You call them and voice your complaint. Like, I'm getting immediate action.
Even better, actually. I mean, look at how the world has evolved. We all know now the social media phenomenon. It's a 1, 2, 3 step. Capture, share, point, capture, share. Right. It's the same thing. We're all used to it. We all have smartphones, and these are big devices. They're powerful devices these days. Why don't I give you something in your hand that says, I got a problem here. Let me just take a picture, send it over, and comment on it. And someone basically pings me and says, oh yeah, I saw that. Twitter did that, right. But Twitter did that for everyone. Why not we target that experience for service? Why not target that experience for betterment of customers? Now, you talked about retail. Mm-hmm. I have a very good example. One of our customers in retail space, how they've changed, how the world has changed. Previously, it was, I have a problem and this is your retail employee. My cash counter is not working, so I got to call someone. Instead of that, they're now fitting those cash counters with IoT devices, which send automatic error signals, which records the cases. And you can have your dispatch center, the NOCs, send your field technicians to fix it. That was happening. Now this has gone from reactive to a proactive scenario, right. Where I'm going to say, you know what, I'm going to send someone every 2 weeks to this particular store and in the stores in the region. So I have a task force. Their job is to go there and make sure everything's okay. Right. So we're not kind of stranded anymore. Right? And when these guys go and visit the locations, part of the organization's responsibility is also to track that service history, track how the SLAs are managed. Am I getting enough ROI out of it? So that is the back end side of it, and we automate that entire process. So thanks for bringing that up.
No, but again, it's very applicable because a lot of times it's like the customer has an interaction with the frontline staff, but if they need to, log an issue or an incident, they have to go to that Correct. Desk experience, right?
Correct.
As you said, why go deskless? Like, you don't have to call a service desk.
Exactly.
You bring the service desk right to the customer.
Exactly. I'll give you another example, and this is a very surreal example for me to know. One of our prospects that we just engaged and we are helping them, they're in Africa. And this is a place where, you have at the best 3G signals, right? And they're solving a water problem in dry areas. They are delivering water using the water tankers. And their tankers are device equipped, so the tankers can actually automate the service experience. So the people who are carrying the tankers can automatically register issues and create incidents. And this is a company that's taking that from town to town, region to region. and they're solving the water problems. And by automating this experience, they can better schedule it. So you don't have any more people calling and saying, where's your tanker? We are drying out here. We need some water. So
And
this
I
is
think
very good.
if you tie that in with what you were talking about before, being proactive, I would think that over time, once you accumulate enough data, you can start looking at those patterns and trends.
Absolutely.
That obviously in a dry area, in June, it might be a different frequency.
Absolutely.
And maybe because storms hit and didn't hit, but again, it takes time to collect that data. But if we had enough storms, you can start predicting, especially if I'm a provider of the service, I can start predicting because we had a wet season,
Absolutely.
I may not have to drop off as many. If we had a dry season, I need to prepare and get more drivers and more trucks
Absolutely.
because I know that July and August. So is that kind of where you're trying to go?
Absolutely. So so all this data that we collect, it comes to the backend CRM that you have, and that's where you can do all the pattern analysis, your trend analysis, and you can actually predict your scenarios. So absolutely, we do that, right? We have another customer that actually uses this for parts. They're in the automotive industry, right? Where you have hundreds of thousands of dealers and service providers, like little small garages that fix your vehicles. So we can automate that, and we track the vehicle history, the fix history, and then they can actually figure out what kind of vehicle, in what kind of scenario, and what kind of business application needs a certain service at a certain given period, right? So if you are a bakery, if you have a bakery, if you just bake breads and stuff, versus you are towing heavy equipment, or let's say a lot of garbage which is heavy, then your tires are going to go bad in a certain time frame, and that's going to change.
Sure.
We actually can predict that now with this. And it's all deskless. I mean, you don't need to carry your laptop, and these guys can just carry their smartphones.
Right.
And it resides in their smartphones and keeps tracking it silently in the back end, in the background. They don't even have to do anything. Even if they are in a bad signal area, we still keep working, still keep collecting data, and we synchronize it once they're connected.
Gotcha.
And this might not be a big problem here in the US, but it is actually a very significant problem when you look at the developing countries like Middle East or Africa or Asia. We have customers there. And this is kind of a day and night difference for them, because they don't have to now worry about how am I going to record my data, because the data gets recorded and gets synced.
And I guess that's the thing that maybe a lot of times we don't from North America, really understand or think is a real issue, right? It's like, oh, of course everybody has connectivity. Well, most of us, other than those in Canada, have connectivity. She's been having some connectivity issues. But I guess it's interesting to hear, right? Coming from the North America, or the westernized areas, we don't think about the basics of a lot of the rest of the world.
Yeah.
On 3G, we're like, oh my God, 3G, really? We're like, I didn't get fiber and I'm upset. So the deskless part, I guess, is the big part too. Is they don't have a desktop or they don't have a laptop. Where again, we look at it as, well, of course, you go home, you connect, and you're good.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's almost like assume that we're going to have it. And we have customers, we have use cases where you can't use a device. I'll give you a 130-second scenario of a customer who's in the construction and mining business. And they do landmines and they blast it. So they have to zone the mines and they target certain area. And the way they do it today, or manual way, is to color code the flags. So they'll put the flags that don't go here. This is sorted for mining.
Pull that up.
You know how many people are colorblind?
Now we can actually use geo-zoning.
Oh, okay.
Right.
Geocoding, geo-encoding, geo-zen, geofencing. So we automatically know if someone ventures there, we get the buzzers going on saying that, okay, you know what, someone's there.
Don't push the button.
Yeah, that is deskless.
Wow. I mean, now you're talking real, actual life-saving
Exactly.
potentials. Wow, that's pretty wild.
These
I
are
mean,
all different scenarios of deskless applications. And these are all, this is just a natural extension of your incident management.
Yep.
When at the core of it, that is driving it.
Sure.
But we are just extending that experience out there to your frontline.
Right. Cool. That's why I'm glad we get that piece in, and we have to kind of wrap up, but I'm glad that we get that piece in, because I think that's really important for people to understand. One, obviously, the majority of the world is still, working through basic stuff that maybe we've not experienced. and the human aspect that this could really play. So thank you so much for coming, joining us today, and tell
My
us a little bit
pleasure.
about yourself and your organization. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.